Good evening, everybody. Praise the Lord. Happy Tuesday to you. I hope that you had a tremendous day and that you are excited about the privilege that we have right now just to be in this space together in worship, in study, and tonight, particularly in conversation. I am really, really, really excited about this conversation tonight. We started something on last week, and what's amazing is that. Um, our church is such that and I don't know, maybe it's because it's 2022 or maybe it's because this is just how young folks operate, but when when you do one thing, they are sure to tell you what else you need to do. It's all these entitled people, you know what I'm saying? But one of the things that they said we need to do, like many others, is definitely something that we wanted to ensure that we did. And so without hesitation, we're doing it tonight. Now, y'all know last week we started this amazing conversation just on love, and it kind of spilled over into marriage because we were fresh off of National Marriage Week and Valentine's Day. And so Lady Kim and I shared together with everyone just some things that we found to be a particular blessing in our marriage relationship, in our life of love as we are moving and grooving together. And so coming into that, somebody said, now make sure, Bishop, y'all don't leave out the singles. And you know what? We said we will not. We will not leave out the singles. As a matter of fact, and we're going to get into this conversation. I want to kind of give just a little bit of an overview because I think that far too often the church has in fact done a disservice to its singles, to those that love the Lord but are living a single lifestyle. Some by intention, some in preparation for married life. Uh, they're single, whatever the cause or the reason. There's some myths that we generally contend with, particularly in the church, with regard to singleness. As a matter of fact, Black Christian Singles, the book Black Christian Singles Guide to Dating and Sexuality, author Chris Jackson points out three myths that are normally attached to singles. One, if you are single, you're lonely. Myth. Two, if you are single, you must be searching. And then three, if you are single, you must be struggling with your sexuality, right? Like those are some of the myths that are associated um, with being single, and many of those myths have not only been have permeated the church, but they've been perpetuated in the church. We have wronged single people in a lot of ways by identifying it really even as just a holding pattern for marriage. And so today, I want us to have a conversation about singleness. I want us to talk through some interesting things about singleness because singles, just like everybody else, matter to God. And as a matter of fact, there's some significant single folk in the scriptures. Miriam, Moses' sister, was single, and yet she helped her brother with some of the aspects of leading the people of Israel. Elijah, one of the most influential prophets of Israel, was also single. Lydia, the wealthy businesswoman we read about in Acts, who accompanied Paul and his missionary team or accommodated them in the city of Philippi, probably was a charter member of the Philippian church, was single. John the Baptist, that was Jesus' cousin, his older cousin, by 6 months. He too was single, and shucks, you cannot talk about being single and not mention the most famous single person of all, Jesus. Check it out. Jesus's best friends were single. Mary and Martha and Lazarus. hmm Those were the folk he hung out with. Like when he was in Bethany. Like he Jesus was so concerned about singles. Whenever something happened, he went over. He even raised Lazarus from the dead because that was his dude. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord cares about singles, and so we should too. And so I want to have this conversation. I want to talk to some singles, and so we've invited some folk to join us because I've not been single for 26 years. And I know that while some things may possibly have remained the same, much has changed. And so I've asked some great people to join us, and I'm trying to decide right now what kind of introductions I'm going to give, right? Um, so I won't embarrass anyone. But this first young lady who is joining us is a member of the Citadel Church, and she's been quite vocal. She's lived her singleness out loud. I watched her on social media, and sometimes I can't even comment. I just heart I like it and keep going because I'm too busy laughing to comment. But she is a joy to know, and I am thankful that she said hello, Sister Tyra Walker. Hey, Tyra. Tyra, just throwing up deuces. Can I hear you? Are you muted?
I'm muted. I'm here
Okay, there we
now.
go. We can hear you now.
How y'all doing? Period.
Better now. Better now. Now, I invited another young lady, Tyra, to join us in this conversation tonight. Come through here. This young lady. So I've known her for a long time, but I think our relationship went to another level when I had the opportunity to have her as an intern at the radio station. And while she probably will not come back to work with me, I am excited about the time that we shared. She is a member of the Open Arms Community Church under her father, Bishop Leofric Thomas, who is also a very good friend of mine. And I'm thankful that Christian Thomas is with us tonight. Christian, you there?
I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear
Yay.
you. Oh, this
Awesome.
must be Big Hair Day. Is that what this is?
Big hair every day. You haven't seen me on my natural journey. I was really trying when I was an intern, but it didn't work. But now it's giving.
It's doing it. It really is. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, when I called Christian, Tyra, I said I can't do this without having some male input.
Yeah, you got
So,
it. Yeah,
uh,
we'll give you that.
thank you. And again,
We'll
I'm
give you
not single, so I needed the single male perspective. And Christian, you reached out. You helped me out. So please introduce our first male guest.
Okay. I don't know who you want me to introduce first, but okay. We'll go ahead. So the one I know both of them are on the call. So I'll start with Keon. So Keon Hudson is a member of OACC, Open Arms Community Church. He is also a part of our DOPE ministry, which is our young adult ministry that I have been tasked since I've been back home to be the leader / chair of. So he's a part of our core team. And he's been tasked with getting the male perspective involved. So I figured, of course, I'm going to tap him first because, this is his area. This is his arena. So welcome, Keon.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. What's happening, Keon?
Going on?
Keon, I don't know if you on the call or you gaming. What are you doing, dude?
Now I'm gonna call my headphones. Don't do that. My headphones is kind of bulky.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I'm glad that you're able to join us. And who else? Because we can't have the men outnumbered.
Right. And so this next person is really dear to my heart. We've known each other since college, and he's really been like a brother to me. It's Mateus Wilson. Sorry, Mateus. Don't get mad at me. So he is from Thomasville, Georgia, but he currently is in Macon, Georgia right now. But he's a great guy, loves the Lord, and is a perfect male perspective to have. So, and the funny thing is both Keon and Mateus are Greek life situation. So
okay.
they offer that perspective too. So
that's good to know. So now let me ask, because I have my own personal likes and dislikes, even though I am not Greek. Keon, what organization are you affiliated with?
Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
I think that's a good one. Okay. Praise
Yes,
God.
sir.
Praise
Yes,
God. Mateus, what about you? I'm crossing my fingers to get 2 out of 2. Are you muted? He's scared to say it.
Oh, okay. Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated.
I'm sorry, that was?
Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated.
right.
The Lord bless you, sir.
Ah!
I'm just kidding. I'm not Greek, so I can't. I have no place to talk. But welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us tonight and for helping us to have this conversation. And I want to jump right in, and I'm going to go around the room first. All right. And Tyra, I'm going to start with you, but I just want to. For purposes of perspective, I want to just ask you quickly, how difficult has it been for you being a single Christian at this particular time of life?
So hello everyone. It's so nice to meet all of y'all. And thank you, Bishop, for giving us this platform. So I will say, so I am engaged. So just that's like a disclaimer for everybody. From the perspective, getting married July 30th. So but it just disclaimer. But before I would say I met my future husband, it was difficult. Like Bishop said, I am very open about my singlehood, because technically you are still single until you get married. So it has been a struggle in the past, and I make jokes of it now. Like I make reels and Instagram reels. I talk about it all, and I'm very open about it. But it was difficult, really mainly for me, being because of my goal to have sex when I get married. So that really was the thing where it turned a lot of people off in the past. So I would say that was my thing. And also, honestly, just not knowing my worth in the past, just kind of settling for just anything, just to say, oh, I got a man. He didn't want to be that single friend of the group and things like that. But let's say, thank God for healing and restoration.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Let me hear from Keon. How difficult has
Um,
it been, or is it now?
I would say it's pretty difficult now, especially with being a college student and in a fraternity, and then hanging around single. I have single friends, single LBs, so just seeing a lot of the single stuff that they do, or that we run into, it's kind of hard. Like balancing it. It's like, as far as in, like, okay, should I do this? Should I do that, or am I looking for this in a female, or not? So it's kind of, I would say it's kind of difficult for me. Just trying to learn how to balance it, really.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Christian?
Okay. Has it been difficult? Yes. Yes. I don't know. It is a journey. It is a journey. It's hard to just say yes or no, because some days you're like, okay, I am okay with who God created me to be. I know He is shaping and molding a man for me, and He's gonna, be exactly who He needs to be for me. And then there are other days where I'm like, Lord, I already told you, I'm over the clock is ticking. We're doing all this day in, they ain't really coming through like they're supposed to, so there are ups and downs with it, but I am learning to be content in where I'm at right now. I don't want to rush it. I don't, I've gotten a chance to see, marriage in a way to where I'm like, look, hey, there's a lot of struggles when it comes to being a married person as well. So I'm definitely not as I want it as I was before. But of course, I know there are things that me and the Lord talk about, and that's one of the things on the list. Like, okay, but I'm not rushing you, but I'm just letting you know this is on the list of to-dos. So or I would like,
Right, right,
so
right. Grow my hair, get the established career, and get married. Yeah, it's on the list. Yeah. Okay, good, good. Mateus, did I say? Am I saying this right?
Yeah, you
Okay,
did.
okay,
You did.
good.
Yeah, I would say it has been a rough, difficult time, being single, just because I feel as though I haven't found my match. I've dated a girl from high school all the way up to my junior year of college, and I just felt as though she wasn't what I would want a person of my wife to be. And maybe it was because of me too. We all accept faults and stuff like that. But like I said, yeah, it's kind of been rough. It's kind of been rough. Just finding that genuine person that likes what you like, do what you want to do, give you your space, but also give you your time. It's just a lot. Especially during our times now. It's not like how the old love used to be where grandma and granddaddy just shacked up and got married and had 7, 10 kids. It's not like that at all. So it's different in our times. So it's more difficult for people in our 20s to find that loved one and actually stay with them and not getting divorced, or if it's true love or not.
Mm-hmm. So and we're going to take questions from the virtual audience. So I'm monitoring Facebook and YouTube. So if you see me look down, it's not because I'm not paying attention. I want you guys to know that, but I want the audience to know that we want to hear their questions, and we know that singlehood is different for someone in their 20s and then someone in their 30s and someone who's single but may have been married or is now widowed, or not just divorced or something like that. There are different classifications, but I think that by and large, um, the conversation I want us to have tonight really focuses on those who've never been married. All right, which is all of you guys. And I now want to ask, because I started out saying that sometimes the church hasn't really given you all what we needed to give. Do you think the church cares about singles?
I would say I see a lot of couples trip in the church, building couples, but I don't see anything for the singles
Okay.
at
I agree.
all.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
You agree. So we just overall we don't do enough, or just don't
But
care.
I also think there's a gap. Like I think Mateus, you said it earlier, where it's not like how our grandparents maybe were. So I think the millennials and Generation Z, I feel like just a lot has changed since, say, when our parents were dating. I think it's a lot, but like on both spectrums, men and women, I think a lot of people play games, and I just think commitment is scary to some
Yeah.
people. I honestly don't know if I don't blame the church for not necessarily maybe teaching it. I just think there's just like everything, the technology, jobs. I just think there's a gap, a learning gap, and it's like more so how do we teach them, I guess, because even when I think about and I don't know, Bishop, this is even answering the question, but like even when I think about talking about like sex and things like that, is just like not a thing. Like we don't talk about that in the church, as far as singlehood. Like single people should not be talking about it, but it's like, no, let's talk about it, because now that I'm engaged, of course the urges come. I find my man attractive, so it's like, okay, let's talk about when you do have those urges, what happens. Like we can have healthy conversations on singlehood and sex.
Yeah.
So I just think there's a learning where it's like, how do we do that? How do we teach these young people about relationships? And that people may not know how to do that.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Is the church, do they care, or even what should we be teaching? What should be the church's approach to singles?
Keon, you want to go? I'm sorry, I was gonna say something, but I feel like he was saying something.
Yeah, nah, I was just gonna say, I guess it's just different now. Just like you said earlier, it's just different now. I think the church just kind of gotta just monitor, or just understand that, again, not saying it's not all about the married couples, but understand that it's a lot of young people in the churches now that are single and have questions, or maybe that's not ready to get married, or maybe is scared of marriage. So I just think that it should just be talked about more, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I think the church can do a better job in explaining what singleness is not. Like, because lots of people like to say what marriage is. It's an institution ordained by God. It is the most, you know what I'm saying? But what happens when you're not at that point? So what am I do? What am I? I'm single. It shouldn't be a brand. You know what I'm saying? Oh, all my singles, all my married couple. Yes, we get it. And we understand there must be things done to develop singles, to develop married couples. But in the meantime, let's not make singleness seem like, oh, he's coming or she's coming, or, sometimes it feels like to, most singles, it feels like punishment. It's not punishment. Sometimes
It's
it feels
not.
like limbo. It's not limbo. Sometimes it feels like, oh, it's development. Yes, it can be development, but it's like you have to acknowledge that singles have struggles that they're dealing with on a daily basis. And then you have to see your friends getting married or engaged, or you see, all those things come into account. Singles go home too, but they don't necessarily have a partner to say, hey, this is what I'm going through today. They don't have anybody to share those struggles with. I mean, you have friends and things like that,
Right,
but you
right.
obviously know when you have a spouse or a companion, that's a different type of connection. So I just think if we can identify what singleness is under God. Granted, I want to know that Jesus was fully human and fully spirit at the same time, which means what? He experienced the same urges that we get.
Mhm.
He, went through all of those trials and things like that. How did he do it? I mean,
Right,
he
right.
was human, but still it's rough for us. So I think we just need to acknowledge all those points.
So it's interesting that you say that, because Scripture does tell us that Jesus was tempted every point,
Mhm.
just like us, and the only demarcation was he did it without sin. Like, Jesus had to fully contend with his humanity. Now, I don't know if a lot of folk, and not just singles, but I don't know if a lot of folk are ready to have those kind of conversations. That, take for instance Jesus at the well with that woman who's been with five different men. Like, she's had five different men. Do you really think the mood of that conversation was as plain as what's written in red? Like, like, how's old girl looking? You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like, what is she feeling?
I mean,
You know
even
what
when
I'm
we
saying?
think of Mary Magdalene, I'm sure she was a baddie.
Fatty, sis.
I mean, she had to be, right?
Be
She
mentioned.
had to be.
Okay.
She had to be. Like,
Lazarus sisters. I
you
mean,
know,
he was around some beautiful women, I'm sure.
absolutely. And you're right. We have to answer the question. We have to really answer the question what singleness is not, as much as we would answer the question what is marriage. You know what I'm saying? Or what is singleness? Now, okay, I'm not ready for that yet. Let me not go there. It's coming. You know it's coming.
I know.
I'm not gonna do it yet, but it's coming. There's a question. Lady Kim asked, "Do you feel like commitment is not a priority for millennials or for Generation Z?" Somebody made mention of that commitment issue, and now you do know, people my age look at you all. Okay, and I'm going to speak in generalities, for the purpose of the conversation. Okay, people like on my side look at people on your side and say, you don't commit to nothing. It ain't just in relationship. You don't commit to nothing. Everything is volatile with you. You are entitled. Does that bleed over into how you relate to one another in relationship? Is commitment overall an issue for people, your age that are
I
single?
think it's what we see the generation before us.
Oh, so it's
Uh,
all report is getting.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying the generation before us. Even with being in my own household and see how my mom and dad used to argue like that. I'm like, I don't want to be in a committed relationship with somebody I'm arguing with 24/7. I'm fighting with and doing all that.
That's
This
good.
person might be cheating on me and I'm just stuck like a duck and stuff like that. So I feel as though everybody the older generation loves to say that, you know, this new generation is, I guess, weird. We don't know how to act, but we had to get our ways from somebody.
Oh my.
Take it there, brother.
It's the indictment for me. That's I'm trying to get over that.
We had to get it from somebody. And you think about it, going back to the first question where, you know, the church, is there ways that church do more for the people, the couples that's married than singles? Well, granted, you got to look at the generations before. As my grandmother is 90 years old, she stayed with her husband. And she hated his guts, but she stayed.
Now, don't come on here and not be accepted in the family.
But we being real. We being real.
Okay.
Hey, I'm just throwing that out there. But you know, she stayed with him through thick and thin. That's the 80 plus crew. Then you have this 60 plus crew where, you know, they still married, but they separated. Then you have this 30 through 50 crew that, you know, be like, okay, well, I'm gonna stay with you for 10 years and then I'm gonna get a divorce. And then we're just gonna be done with each other, especially after the kids graduate from high school. Yeah. And then you have us where, you know, we just don't feel like going through that. We don't want to go through slavery. We don't want to go through oppression. We don't want to do none of that. Yeah. And so it's hard to live in these times, but we had to get it from somewhere. It was easier to find somebody with the generations before, but like I said, I mean, you either have a happy relationship or a sad relationship, but you got to find one.
Ariel on YouTube said the newer generation is just not putting up with the foolishness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whoa.
But that's with everything though. Like it's like at a job. Okay, talk to me like you crazy if you want to. Here's my 2 weeks notice the next day.
Thank you.
Immediately.
Right. With church. And I think, you know, that comes with, we have a lot of questions. I think my generation, that 20 on up, we just have a lot of questions. And I think if those questions are something that the older generation may not be ready to answer, it's like, oh, y'all are rude, or y'all disrespectful, or y'all just some rebels. And it's like, no, a lot of us want to know what not to do.
Or here's my thing too, sis, because you hit about, we want to know what not to do, but then you have the older generation that doesn't want to say what they did. But you want to condemn us for what we do. Now, I'm not the person that, but if we're going to talk about it, we're going to talk about it. Now, somebody that says, you know, you really shouldn't have sex before marriage because I did it and it caused this, and that in my life. Don't just say, oh, you know, she fast, she out there having sex before marriage. I heard about this. Well, did you go to her and say, hey, I noticed that, you know, this was happening. And as a woman who's done that and gone through this, here's what we can do. I'll pray with you. I'll work with you. I'll discuss these things with you. Let's not condemn before you even know the full spectrum of the story. Yeah. Instead, let me help you. You know, so I think that's my thing, but you know, go ahead.
I 100% agree. Because I always tell people I learned some of the best life lessons that have stayed with me are from people who were so authentic and transparent about the things that they went through. And so I'm in return, I am so like, again, I am an open book when it comes down to relationships because I know like how it is, you know, I talk about my testimony of being like depressed over men and stuff like that. Like, what good is it if I'm holding all that in and I can't help the next brother or sister out there? And, you know, yes, I'm a virgin, but when people come to me and talk to me about like their experience and stuff, they're like, you know, just don't judge me. I'm like, oh, honey, I ain't gonna judge because if walls could talk,
right.
Yeah. If walls could talk, you know, if one, I mean, I have an experience in this issue, but I definitely have gone through some things with low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, things like that. And I'm like, look, we're all like, we've all done did some stuff. And that is why Jesus went on that cross for us. So I think we are very much the generation, I think, is a little bit more open about past experiences. And like, instead of condemning, okay, sis got on a short dress. Okay, but thank God she's in church. Like, you know, things like that.
Right.
So I 100% agree with you, Christian.
And even with the whole commitment thing too, I think this generation is just more like, hey, just focus on yourself. Hey, I'm not finna deal with arguing. I'll be back. I'm finna in my 20s. I'm focused on myself right now. I need to focus on graduate. I need to focus on traveling first. I think that's kind of where it's at now for this generation.
You guys, I just need y'all to know, I cannot keep up with the comments and the questions on Facebook and YouTube. So I'm gonna seek a commitment from you to follow this up with another conversation. I'm doing that right now. I need you to commit to this old man that you will come back and do this, because there's gonna have to be a part two. I already know, because it feels like we've only scratched the surface. You commit? I
Yes,
know you
sir.
would quit
I'm always
if you
Do I have
don't
a
know.
choice?
Kristen does
Yeah.
not have a choice.
I never have a choice.
Yes, sir.
She does not. No, ma'am. No, you do not. So I'm trying to decide where to go. Kim, let's talk about the transparency of the older generation. Let's go back to that and talk, because I agree 100% that we've not done a good job in not just uh, exposing you to a good template by how we exercise in our relationships, but we've also done more to hide our mistakes, our failures, instead of letting you in where and when it's appropriate. It's not always immediately appropriate. Sometimes we got to work up, build up to that. Because I remember the first time uh, my daughters came to me and said, I'm sitting there and I'm watching the football game, right? The Gators are playing, and it's like a serious game. And my children come up, my oldest daughter, Brianna, comes up to me, and she just, like, with the most nonchalant attitude you could possibly have, coming from what place I have no idea, says to me, Daddy, have you ever cheated on mama?
Mm. Golly.
And I, girl, it's Saturday afternoon. What is you doing? What do you think? Kim! I'm like, at this point, I'm trying to figure out, like, where did this come from? But it meant that, okay, I'm not finna see the rest of this game,
Right.
because I have an opportunity right here to be transparent, to offer, some serious conversation. And we had that. And then we brought my wife into it. And before we knew it, I think maybe 2 hours, babe, had passed. But she left fulfilled and satisfied and knowledgeable and better able to make some decisions about how she wanted to order her life and what things she wanted to look for. And it came with no loss of respect for her mom and I, right? I think more of an appreciation, and she can speak for herself, she's old enough, but more of an appreciation for the marriage relationship, because, she's engaged right now. I think, both the ladies know that my oldest daughter, Brianna, is engaged right now to be married in September. Y'all the same month, Tyra?
I'm July.
July. I'm sorry, I forgot. July and September. But I think sometimes the transparency is difficult. How can we be better with that? How do you see that? See us being better with that? Because
I can
understanding
talk
is
a lot,
not
so if somebody
easy.
else wants to go, I can talk a lot. So
Okay.
by all means, y'all like. But honestly, what you did, like, you actually took the time to talk, giving her, your undivided attention, and I think that's what it is. I think having that moment where you're like, okay, we're going here, so let's talk. Let's have a adult conversation and let's talk about it. I think that's perfect. But also the person being the receiver of the information, like, just like not judging, if that makes sense. And just really like, wow, I appreciate the authenticity and the fact that you're even sharing, because sharing, everybody don't want to tell their story. So
Right,
that's
right.
a gift. That's a gift to receive that, wow, you value me that much that you're actually willing to sit down and talk to me and explain things to me. And I honestly just believe that if more people did that, it would just be a lot better, instead of yelling at us and like, why are you asking this question and why are you being nosy and you'll learn when you get older. And it's like, no, like a lot of times at home, like our parents are our first teachers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know?
See, I say the same.
No, I was just going to say, she gave me a nugget for tonight already. You all are already working really good. Transparency is a gift.
Mm.
I caught that. Thank you. If you hear it in the sermon, I thanked you publicly right here. After this point, it's all mine. The Lord
Put
told me.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Right.
Go
ahead, Keon.
So now I was just gonna piggyback what she said. I was just gonna say, just being real, just being honest from the jump, and then sometimes even before we have the questions, catching us before we have the questions in, just going. I guess what I'm trying to say is just go ahead and open the topic out up. Before we even have the questions, go ahead and put it in our minds. Hey, this is blah 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 blah. Instead of us coming to the source and asking why sometimes. So just trying to catch us before sometimes and being honest.
I like that.
Yeah,
I think that's a good point, because now I know we're talking about younger singles right now, but especially for the 16, because let's be honest, like you have to catch them young right now because they're seeing a lot of stuff. Even when I was around that age, I was seeing a lot of stuff that I had questions about. And instead of them learning, because they have access to internet, they have access to whatever they want. Instead of them learning that way, I think parents have to really start now. Churches have to start now. Please, because you have so many young people that are wrestling with identity issues, sexual identity issues, depression. They don't know what depression is and they think they're depressed. They're speaking it over themselves because they've heard it, so these things we have to address. And so it goes beyond singleness. It really goes to lifestyle and just being more transparent about, what you saw in school, even though it may be different, acknowledge that it's different and ask them what they're going through. What do they see? Because then they'll be more, willing to come to you about anything else instead of having the conversation when they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And I think but then again, you got to go back to how you said, things that we seen growing up is totally different from things that these younger generations are seeing. Like on TV, I mean, they're completely just having sex on TV. Right. If you just look on BT, Netflix, I just got done watching The Woman in the Neighborhood, whatever it was. And
I saw that. It's actually pretty good. The woman,
it's pretty good, but it was just
across the street from the girl in the house. Yeah.
It was good, but that sex scene, it was just a little too much. I'm like, you have kids have Netflix. My little cousin, he watches my Netflix all the time. So it's pretty much forced on us now. And they're not allowing the parents to teach them about sex, teach them about, hey, use a condom, safe sex, or being in a relationship, period. I know dads teach daughters when we were growing up, hey, you can't have a boyfriend until you're 21 or when you out my house. I mean, now it's just like your little 8-year-old cousin going out with a 7-year-old. It's just, I don't know if, going back to, the church teaching singles, I don't know if the older generation can teach the younger generation because we're not going through what they're going through. We didn't see this while we were growing up, or vice versa when they didn't have no TVs. All they had was magazines and stuff like that and radio.
I think singleness is different. It's the same, but it's different. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, you didn't have, not trying to say that y'all are, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying technology developed so fast. You didn't have the phone to see, sis is getting married. This is how people doing wedding hair, or, she got a man, or all this kind of stuff, or people, he cheated on her. Or this is, you didn't have that. You might have heard about it, but you didn't
Yeah.
have that, constant reminder that, oh, yep, you're single, sis. Yep, you got to deal with that. So
Uh-huh.
that brings a totally different meaning to what singleness is. That's why people say you have to say no, just because you're single does not mean you're alone. You still got folks that, you have a community. And I know Mateus and Keon know this, but like I am always serious about my community, because when we're in that position, we're going through it together. And we can rejoice when somebody says, oh, I have me a nice guy, or I have me a nice girl. We can do that together instead of just being like, oh, well, sorry, you're single, sis. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pastor, I got a question for you. So, as far as him being single, back then, I mean, not necessarily you're single. I'm
I'm
saying
just
as far
go ahead.
as since we're talking about the single thing, so back then, were you guys like worried about speaking from like a male, were you guys worried about like body counts in a woman, hair, the looks, if she got kids, were you guys worried about that, or was it just like I'm in love, let's go and tie the knot and let's go and do it, like,
Oh
you know what
no,
I'm saying?
definitely body count was a concern. Uh, uh, yeah, no. Now, as a guy, I could have a high body count because that enforced my manliness, reinforced rather my manliness. But I definitely didn't want to have, be with anybody that had been with as many men as I had been with women. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, you wanted that when you wanted that for the reason you wanted that. But when you got ready to settle down, or when you got ready to look for a wife, or when you were like, trying to shift who you were as a guy, that no, you weren't looking for somebody who, you know, was fast, hot, hoish. You didn't want that. You know, you wanted somebody who was a virgin or very, very close to it. Like, to be honest, that was what we looked for. But as a guy, that was what I looked for. Let me say it like that. That was what I looked for. Um, but and we had to deal with, we were in the really big AIDS scare time frame. I was in the really big AIDS scare time frame. And yes, Shirley, it is a double standard. It really was. Because as a guy, I was told, let me go backwards. I was told, don't bring no baby home. Right?
Mhm.
That's what I was told. Don't bring a baby home. But my sisters were told, you know, stay pure, stay chaste. Don't you know what I'm saying? They had they had the the preponderance of discipline and heavy weight of being perfect and being pure as women, because that's what every man wanted, so to speak, right? But as a guy, I was just told to, just not get her pregnant, you know, and that's a bad thing. And to a degree, that kind of thinking still exists today. The double standard, of course, is definitely still there. So in that regard, that has not changed at all. But I think the bigger difference between when I was single, so many, many, many years ago, but and you all now, is the ease and the access of information about one another.
Mhm.
Right? I can know everything about you before the first date. You know what I'm saying? Just 5 minutes on your social media pages, and I can know everything I want to know about you. I can derive my own perceptions about you based on what you've presented. And I think that's probably the biggest difference between then and now. I think the regard is still the same between men and women and how they view what they are looking for. I don't think that's changed at all. And I would argue that point uh, to eternity. I really would. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir.
Um, someone said that not only is it the double standard, um, but that, and I apologize, I lost the comment. Someone said, yes, you'll know everything. Criminal record, parking tickets, everything.
Mhm.
Let me
You
ask
have to
this.
know this because people crazy.
And you
Right.
do need to know this. So let's talk
Yeah.
about dating. Let's talk about dating. Let's talk about what is dating the right way as a Christian? How would you define the right way?
I feel like this question is so big because I mean you even have Christians like because I'm a firm believer in like courtship. So I just feel
Mhm.
like even dating, the worldly dating and Christian dating is like two different things. Like
Totally
it's totally different. Courtship, if you like me, you plan the date, you put
People still want that?
it's a
Yes,
work.
we
It's
do. We do.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but it I believe it's intentionality. Like you're being intentional with like you want to pursue something in me, pursue a relationship. Whether I will stay true on this hill by myself if I have to. But I will always say a man knows within a couple of weeks if he wants to marry you or not. I will stand on that hill if I have to stand by myself. But
You're not
I don't know
a
about
alone.
man
that.
knows.
I,
A
I,
man
I think you're
knows.
right. Yeah.
A man, it
Yeah.
does not take him years and years and years. Now, if were dating in high school and y'all grew together in college, that's one thing. But like, especially like late 20s, like they know. But
Mateus
it's
is looking like he may not agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
when you find her, you'll know. You can't really, you don't
Yeah.
know right now. You ain't dating nobody.
I
True
mean,
that.
I would
Mateus is
say,
like, I'm a Sigma. I need
did.
I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know
All
if
right, Rev.
but it's intentionality for me. The courtship, that's one thing that stood out to me when it came down to my fiance. He was so intentional about every little detail, and that's like I was like, oh, he's different. Like even when he like asked me to be his girlfriend, he did a whole like girlfriend proposal. I mean, it was definitely over the top. But I took that as, oh, you doing too much. When no, like just no other man before him stepped up.
Huh?
So I would say, when it comes down to courtship, it's intentionality, like pursuing me actually. But a lot of people have a different definition of dating. It could be, where you officially ask someone to be your boyfriend or girlfriend, or it could be our first date. We're technically dating. So I don't know. It just depends on the person, I think.
I'm curious to hear a guy's point of view on this, with regard to courtship and dating, and you introduced, Tyra, the concept of exclusivity, in a roundabout way, because you said first date, now we date. Well, doggone it, I got a date planned for tomorrow with somebody else. Then you just don't lock me down just like that. I mean, dang, I'm trying to figure it out. So one of the guys, talk to me a little bit about dating and courtship and that intentionality stuff that the women want you to present.
Well, I'm still I'm still trying to figure out. Well, I'm not trying to figure out the difference between courtship and dating. Really, to be honest with you guys, so I'm
What's the
still kind
difference,
of.
ladies?
Intentionality.
Exactly. Intentionality is the total difference. Like
So you can't have
courtship,
intentionality with dating.
no, dating is like, hey, let's just go out and let's see how this works.
Mhm.
Courtship is, I've watched you. I think I kind of know what you like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lay out, I'm going to plan this thing out. And I'm going to go here because I noticed this about you, or I noticed that, it's noticing the things, your attributes, and then forming that into almost like a plan to say, okay, I really want courtship is in that you'll see like most older people as in like the 30s, like they used courting. Dating didn't come around until like the 70s because that's when people were a little bit more liberal with who they wanted to be with. Courtship was like, oh, this is going to be my wife. I'm going to make you my wife. So that's the difference. And that's why she says intentionality, because when you find that one, so yeah, you may just be dating right now because you're like, hey, I'm not too sure if I want to put a ring on it, but I think you're a nice person and we can be cool and kick it. But courtship is like, oh yeah, I found the one and that's going to be my wife. That's just
and dating. Oh, I'm sorry, Christian. You nailed it on the neck toe, but yeah, dating, but like bitches say, like you it could be where like you dating 2 or 3 people. You trying to figure out which one you like. And so it's hard because some people have their own definition of dating. Like I know with me, what you mean you dating 2 and 3 other people? But technically, if he didn't make it official with it, will you be my lady? Will you be my girlfriend? Like, do you want to be exclusive? Then I mean, technically, he's not cheating or she's not cheating, you know. Back in the day, I think I saw Brianna put where it was like, no, we talking. I used to say that all the time in high school. My mom was
We
like,
used to say that. We said that.
y'all talking, y'all not, my mom said, y'all not dating, y'all just talking on the phone, like, you know. So it's so many, it's stressful. Go ahead.
I was just saying, so with the courtship thing, that's basically saying that we on a committed road right now. We planning on it, and then dating is just we just chilling. We just going with the flow.
We're figuring it out. Yeah. Figuring it out.
So
because you may go on a date with me one day and we may hit it off, you know, whatever. But then date number 2, say if I'm really rude to like the waitress or whatever, and you're like, oh, I don't like that quality about her, you know, that's a red flag or whatever. You can technically end it with me. You know, there won't be a third date. We were just dating, you know, getting to know each other a little bit.
So let me ask this then. So with the courtship thing, and I got a good little bit of questions. So with the courtship thing, so if I, you know, go get a girl and we get in our courtship, and then later on I'm like, nah, but I already planned the plan out. So now what? I just keep getting into one, or
that's fine. Things happen. You learn people, but I'm saying you have an intention. You want more from her than just, hey, let's just go out on a date. Like you see future qualities in her. You know, this is when I can take home to mom, or this, you know what I'm saying? Like you see those qualities. Now, if she just turns out to be, hey, I'm not telling you to marry, you know, Jezebel or whoever else.
I got you.
I'm just saying, but I do see her and have plans for her. Yeah.
I do think I was going to say, to add to that, I do believe like when this is so the reason and the importance of praying and seeking God about what to do next, because what we're saying is fine, but if you don't see God, and even if you in courtship, but if God said that's not your wife, that's not your wife, period. I don't care how well that you're trying to make it work. And I'm talking from experience. I had so many about to be my husbands in the past because I just was like, God, I know you said no, but I think I can change him, you know. And it's like, who are you, you know, to be changing people? No. So all in all, even when you're dating, that's the time where you need to be on your knees praying, fasting, like, God, is this person for me? Show me this person. And I believe once you get the okay, then boom, 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 you can get it going. You can get it popping.
Go ahead, Kristen.
You got something to say, but you know, it's all right.
Go right ahead.
This is my thing, because I have been dealing with this so heavy. It was so bad last week that I was like, Lord, you're going to have to tell me something. Because, and what he seriously just said to me is, I'm a selfish God. What he was saying to me was, all the guys you're talking to, yeah, they're good. They're nice people. But whenever one of them texts or whenever one of them calls, you drop what you're doing. You were reading the word. You were focused on Bible study. You were doing all this stuff, focused on your plan. What are you going to do to get to your house? You were focused on all this stuff. But as soon as they call, as soon as they text, you drop everything. And the last thing you're thinking about is me. So what happens when they cheat on you? What happens when, you know, life circumstances happen? Who are you going to run to? Oh, you weren't even developing your spiritual life because you were too focused on what they were trying to do, what they were offering you. And if you don't have any, you know, worth, and, you know, God isn't stupid. He knows our hearts. And we always say that. That's the one thing. God knows my heart. But it's okay to actually be transparent with him and say, hey, Lord, I'm really kind of over this. I'm really struggling with this. I really like this dude, and I am so kind of into it. So help me you override my spirit, so that when I want to, just spend all my time with him, that I can say, okay, no, I'm spending time with the Lord right now. Like literally last night, I was like, hey, this conversation is cute. I'll call you in the morning. I'll talk to you in the morning, because I need to spend, and because I felt myself. I felt what was happening. And so I'm saying, okay, let's bring it back in. And so then,
Did you really say? I don't know what happened, but I'm curious if Christian really actually said this conversation is cute. Did you really say
Right.
that to him?
I did. I said, this
Oh man,
conversation is
God.
cute.
I love it.
Well, because,
I love
but
it.
here's my thing. I'm very open with people I'm talking to. Like,
I
you
know.
just have to know. Mateus knows. Like, I will tell them,
No,
like,
when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's definitely
That's
Christian.
that's
exactly what.
Christian. And like, this is cute. Like, we had a great conversation. I'll talk to you in the morning. At least I'm going to talk to you in the morning.
That's
Like,
good.
like,
That's good.
Like,
There was hope.
and you don't have to know what I'm doing. You don't have to know what
Say
I'm
that
doing.
again. Say it again. Say it again.
I said, you don't have to know what I'm doing.
One more time. One more time.
You didn't get it. You don't have to know what I'm doing.
There we go. That was for somebody else. That wasn't for me. That's for somebody on YouTube.
Because,
Mhm.
we all get this. It's better than not responding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
But
saying,
you're
hey,
also creating healthy boundaries.
Yes.
Which
And
is
he knows
that's a
He
whole
knows
nother
where I'm at.
lie.
That's
Listen,
great.
y'all. Listen, y'all. Come Sunday morning, you know where I'm at. You get a text maybe before. If you text me, I may text you back before 9:00. I won't text you again before 1:00 when I'm out of church and everything's done. Like, that's it. You know where I'm at.
Well,
You know what I'm doing.
Have you ever thought about incorporating him with your relationship with God?
Oh, this is for me. Oh wow, this is turned to
And real quick, I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say that.
Here's my thing, and we've had these discussions and we talked about this. Like, I can't have someone who's not strong spiritually. It just does not work. It never works. And even if like if we're cruising along and we're making it, by the time you get to Leofric,
oh yeah, you did.
I'm not even going to go there. But
yeah,
that is something that is so keen to me. And that's my thing. I pray. I'm like, Lord, don't bring them to me I don't want to not waste time, but that, and I don't want to have to, like you said, says like, I don't want to mold anyone. I don't want to have to change anyone. I need them to be ready. Don't bring them unless they're ready, to not for marriage per se, but, to at least court to get to that point, because I don't want to have to go through the ups and downs of that. So yeah, spiritual background and rooting is very important to me. I don't want to have to pray for you. I need you to be able to pray for yourself. I need you to be able to pray for me and lift me up, and then of course I'll pray for you, but I'm saying you have to have a relationship, period.
But
equally
Christian, is it wrong for somebody not to be as spiritually strong spiritually as you? Is it like wrong picking somebody else?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, ooh, how can I word this right?
It's just spiritual relationship. Just a relationship.
Yeah,
But what if I'm not as good? What if I, like, you've been going to church all your life, but what if I haven't? What if I'm just getting in the flow?
That's absolutely okay. I think that's where it becomes a relationship with, what I'm saying, with that person, because now we can, I can help build you up until you get to that point where now it's really a give and take. So now it's not just me building you up, but you're building me up. You're praying with me. You're, interceding for me, and we're going through the same thing together. I think what I'm saying is you just can't have no relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not starting with bimbo from scratch. Like, you got to have a little something, a little mustard seed for me to work with, because I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? So, because you don't want to be perfect, right? No, not gonna be perfect.
Because I'm not perfect. I thought I was, and then premarital counseling told me I wasn't. Premarital counseling told me that I was not perfect at all, actually, and I need some deliverance in some areas. But like my sis said, it's definitely relationship. All right, like, even if you're not, I have, I'm a new babe in Christ. Are you willing to go to church with me? Are you willing to go, instead of us going to like a party, whatever, like we go to a Christian concert, you know, whatever. Like, are you willing to do that? Because I've in the past dated guys who like said they were Christian, but their fruit did not show that at all. And so what does that fruit look like for me?
Right,
you know,
right.
don't have to be perfect, but is your heart willing to try? Do you have a yearning for Jesus? And I think that is attractive. That goes beyond looks for me. Like, of course, you want your spouse to look good and the person you're dating look good, but what's that relationship look like? That's like number one, period.
But you also got to consider as well, you know, say for instance, you know, you have a guy and it's definitely hard. Well, not necessarily, you know, well, I would say for Christian, because I know Christian is a PK. And, you know, it's that stigma type where, you know, the PK has to bring in a preacher as a husband.
I ain't marrying a pastor.
I'm just saying.
Christian.
Typically,
my wife said the same thing.
He said it. I mean it.
But yeah,
love you, Lady Kim. Love you, Lady Kim.
You bring in this guy, and the church is not welcoming. I know I come from a very traditional Baptist church where, you know, just like you said about a girl coming in with a short dress on, they're going to look at you funny. And then I remember my cousin saying that she was attending this one church in my hometown. And she was like, every time she would come into church, the ushers would look her up and down, like they were sizing her like, what do you have on? What do your kids have on? And so that turned her away from church. And so you have these type of relationships, not necessarily you got to be a PK, but if you go to church every day, you singing in the choir, musician, or even ushering, and then you decide to bring that the person that you're coating into the church, I mean, it's kind of hard for a person that's not used to going to church, and then they automatically be judged as soon as they get in the door.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's hard to say that, you know, you got to have that love for God, and I'm trying to show you the love I have for God and how He's the greatest in the world, and yet I'm taking you to my church, and now it feels like you getting shut out, you getting judged, or whatever, just because you may not look like you belong here, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's easier, even though, because I know, you know, you've been raised in church, Mateus, and all this kind of stuff, and we've talked about this before. It's easier for a male than me. Like, I'm pretty sure Brianna can attest to this. If you bring, as soon as you bring that guy in, whoever the pastor's daughter is marrying, it's intense, or is dating, it's very intense. And it's to the point where it's almost like, listen, we got to have a whole White House briefing before we go into this building. If you sit by me, listen, or at least it's been so many times I've been like, hey, you can come to the church, but don't sit by me. And if you, after church, just meet me in the back, because if they come, we're not
Yes,
you.
sure.
So it's literally like, you know, it's something so serious. And even it's hard for me to compare my brother's relationship with his wife, because she was actually a member of the church. So, you know, that's a different situation. But if you're coming in and, you know, like I said, you sit by me and, oh, don't let him do this. Don't let him. Oh, and then cross the legs and get comfortable. The armor bearer is about to be like, oh no, move. Get out.
Move in now. Take him down.
Right? So when I was in Tallahassee and it was away, I had the best time, because I was able to say, okay, yeah, let's go and meet, let's go to church, and then let's go, you know what I'm saying? And so I got that experience. Now that I'm back home, you know, I'm back on lockdown again, but it's different. It's different.
But I would say it's harder for men to, it's harder for women to bring in their significant others than men are, because the thing about it, we, just like y'all, there's the daddy's girl, there's also the mama's boy. I can't personally, my mom not even the first lady, I can't personally bring in somebody that she thinks that is a hoochie mama, that I can't do that. I can't.
Again.
Well, I'm not gonna date a hoochie mama Christian, but still, if I date a girl, if I bring in a girl that, I know for a fact my mom is not going to approve, it's going to be hard for me because I see the girl's heart rather than her physical appearance or, where she come from. So I don't think it's hard. It's that double mindset of, women and men bringing in their significant others, especially to church.
But now I want to say this, that we do have to have a conversation about what the expectation should be for our village giving a look over to the persons we are courting, right?
Right.
Because they know us and they are offering a method of protection of us. And so when you bring someone in, sometimes you are looking through rose colored glasses and you're not seeing the things that you need to see. So I think we have to understand that there has to be a healthy way for that particular dynamic to have its say. My wife and I said to my daughter, you know what, no, that one surely is not the one. Like, please hurry and quickly get over this one because that ain't the one. And it's not because we don't like him. It's because we know you,
Mm-hmm.
and we know in what environment you will thrive, and in what environment or with what kind of individual you won't. So I think we have to keep in mind. Now, we don't need to be, especially church folk, we don't need to be judgmental, but that is not our fight tonight. We still got to deal with that. Okay.
I was also going to say discernment is a thing.
Mhm.
I
Definitely.
appreciate discernment. It was a lot of things that, like you said, Bishop, like maybe I didn't see, that my parents did see. And even the one, like both my parents, well, my situation was different. And my family actually knew my fiance before I did. So his fruit kind of spoke for himself. I knew his parents, and he's a PK. So it was actually me like, oh, I'm going to go to the church for the first time. Make sure I got myself together, but discernment is a thing. Like sometimes I can see, like if my friends maybe bring in somebody, I'm like, I don't think that's the one. The Holy Spirit will reveal things to you too.
Absolutely.
So I don't necessarily think it's like all the time, like, oh, everybody in the church is hating on me. It could be possibly that they may see something that maybe you don't see yet.
Right.
Mhm.
But also that's a whole nother conversation in itself with like, I believe with church and judgment and things like that. That's just, I think with spiritual maturity, that comes with just knowing that, you know what, some people may not necessarily like me or, whatever, but that does not take my eye off of God.
Right. Absolutely. Now, listen, this conversation has been absolutely amazing. But at this point, we're longer than a Netflix episode. So we have to, and y'all attention span. I'm gonna say y'all attention. I'm just kidding. But we want to say something for the next one because you all committed. But before we close out, I want to get a summary thought on what should be the let me see. What should be the goal for uh, for the Christian single right now, uh, with regard to? Okay, I don't like that question. Never mind. I don't want to ask that. I don't
I
like
feel
that
like
question.
it's gonna be real deep, Bishop.
Yeah, it was about to be. So I'm like, okay, no, let's pull that back. What do you as a Christian single need the most from your church or your village right now to help you be more successful at being a Christian single? Can I ask that one? Is that's like, what do you individually need? Because you each represent a lot of people. There are people who definitely fit, you know, where you are right now, what you've got going on. And so I want to know, what do you need right now in order to be more successful at being a Christian single?
I can start off if
Yeah.
everyone's thinking. I would just say for me, it's continued authenticity as far as transparency. Because I even know now, like being engaged, like we're loving the stories that we hear from married couples who are like, you know what, God had to help us through some things. It wasn't necessarily all peaches and roses. We've had arguments. We got through them, because we know that the enemy doesn't like kingdom marriages, because especially if it's edifying the kingdom. And so of course he tries to attack those kingdom marriages. And so I've just been appreciating people who have been authentic with their stories. Yeah, we've been married for 30 years, but okay, we had a setback or whatever, and we had to come back to Christ. And because I in the well, kind of still now kind of struggle with, like, okay, if I had a really great day, but then I got upset the next day, then I'm feeling bad about myself the whole entire week. So people who come to me and I'll tell these stories and they're like, but God's grace is still sufficient, and you may have had a bad day, but okay, then there's the next day. And so I'm learning that right now, just in premarital counseling, that it's not the end of the world if y'all disagree on one thing. How did y'all communicate and ultimately take it back to Christ? And so for me, I want to keep hearing those transparent stories and moments of how did you make it to 30 years, 40 years, 50 years.
Yeah, that's good. Keon.
I'll just say the same thing. Just having more talks, being more real, again, more open. And then just especially for I like to hear, being that I'm a male, just from the male perspective, from the older guys, just saying, hey, this what happened when I was single, so you might want to try this route instead of this route because of blah 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 blah. So just being more open, especially again around this time now. Definitely need to hear it. So.
Keon, you need to call me when this is done. Christian,
He
bruh, you don't even want to do that, because listen, it's gonna mess you up, boy. Let me tell you. No, really, no, that's good. What about you? Mateus?
Pretty much like everybody said, being transparent and less judgmental. Put it like that. We've gone through things where our parents always say, "Don't do this, don't do that," but yet they never give us the full detail on why we shouldn't and what they went through and stuff like that. And so definitely transparency, and also just keeping your relationship with God and let God lead you to the right path. And all of us gonna come to a point where we're gonna have some relationships and they're not going to work. However, those relationships are going to teach us how to be a better person and what to do in the next relationship. Whether you think you love this person or not, it's still going to be a teachable moment. And I think that's what life is all about in general.
I like that. Absolutely. Christian?
Of course, you save me for last. Everybody said it. Everybody's talking about transparency, and I think I had the most transparent conversation I've had with my mom in like forever. Sunday, and it was so crazy real that I just broke down crying, because it's just when you have those conversations where we're just talking about life. And then she's also dropping spiritual knowledge, but she's also being a mom, and then she's also being a friend. Like, those are moments that are just, you cannot compare. And, to have those moments in your spiritual covering is unmatched, because then you have people of like mind. You have, young adults, or even, and let's be honest, because we really didn't talk about older singles that are struggling too with other situations, like, or they might have been married, now they're divorced, and things are different for them as well. So just understanding the full spectrum of what we have here, continue to have the conversations and not pulling back because we get uncomfortable, not pulling back because we mention sex, not pulling back because we mention, spiritual ties, or, the serious things that come along with relationships, because you have people that are broken up with a man 2-4 decades ago, and they are literally still grieving a relationship. What happens when you grieve a relationship? Because it's easy to say, we broke up, but what happens? And not just saying women are the only ones who grieve relationships, men do too. True. So these are things that we just have to identify the full spectrum. I don't know. This may be, a whole young adults Jack's conference. I don't know. It's a singles conference, but just not making singleness a disease, but making it a point of transition. You know what I'm saying? It literally, we were born single, but something happens between, as we go through life. And then it said, God says it's time. Why is it time for me to be with somebody? Why did you give Adam Eve? For what? And why does my body and my spirit long for companionship? And why did you have it's so weird, because God literally designed for us to have a partner. So what happens if I'm 60, 50, and I still haven't really found my partner? Who is that supposed to be? You know what I'm saying? It's so much bigger, than just I'm single at this moment and I'm not satisfied. This guy didn't work out. It's literally, God, you said you loved me so much, that you gave your son for me. But what about this aspect of my life? You know what I'm saying? And how are you going to address it? And which way do I need to be positioned to where you can address it effectively?
Yeah.
So good.
Sorry.
No, you have no need to apologize. None of you, for sharing your thoughts. That's why I asked you to join me tonight to do exactly that, and you've all done an amazing job of doing exactly that. You've said things throughout the night that have challenged me, and I think I'm pretty transparent. I think I'm very transparent.
Yeah,
think,
you are.
but I know still the places where I am reserved. As a man, as a father, you know what I'm saying? Because to the point of transparency, um, when you are transparent, you can be seen,
Mm-hmm.
not just for what you did, but for who you are.
Yeah.
And sometimes we keep the veil up because we're not fully settled into having come to grips with who we are. We may have come to grips with what we did,
Yeah.
but just because we can talk about what we did, it doesn't mean we've come to grips with who we are. So I think there'll need to be, as these conversations continue, the mutual understanding of the cost of transparency, the cost of authenticity, and when that is reciprocated, I think we'll see the relationships between the various generations get better, because we can glean from one another. You know what I'm saying? We really can. Being with you enriches me. It refreshes and gives me a bit of revitalization that I get to carry back into my relationship with my wife. It gives me it give because we didn't get to sex.
No.
I was gonna say, strongholds. That's a whole nother live.
Yeah, we got that. We're gonna come back, and we probably will just jump right in with sex. Okay, but there's a lot that we can learn from each other, and I hope that for all of those that view tonight and those that will view later, they get all of that, because it's definitely needed. So thank you so much for participating tonight. Thank you even more so for being someone who is doing their best to honor God with their life, with their body, with everything. Because trust me when I tell you, it matters. It really does. And so I'm appreciative. So we speak God's blessings over you. And I'll be texting with dates and times for the next conversation. And I may make Kristen the coordinator, because she did actually wax prophetic. Y'all didn't hear it. I don't know. Maybe you did. But she said something about a conference. And I mean, I'll pay for it. I might not be able to attend because I'm not single, but
all we need is the money.
spoken just, I'm done. But thank you so much. Would one of you like to pray for the singles that have viewed tonight? I want to give you that opportunity to do so, because your perspective is definitely refreshing and needed. Would either of you like to pray? I don't mind.
We poured out so much. You can just pray.
Yeah, just go ahead, close us out, Bishop.
These children get on my nerves. No, you know, the moment you do something that we don't like, you become children all over again.
Right.
But the moment we don't want to do something, you're full-grown adults.
Right.
That's how it works. Father, thank you so much for the blessing that has been this conversation tonight and what I believe is the conversations that it's going to spawn in other places, in the homes of those who have viewed tonight, on the jobs of those who have viewed tonight, in the churches of those who have viewed tonight. Thank you that those conversations will be full of rich, robust, revelatory, real conversation, real truth, God. I pray that you would bless those conversations and cause us to see one another in a way that we've not seen each other before, and to be able to see ourselves. Thank you for Tyra and Mateus and Keon and Christian sharing of themselves on tonight, and doing so without reservation at all. I ask that you replenish them and give to them what they need, Father, even beyond what things they've told us we can do. You supernaturally supply them and every single who is seeking to honor you with their life, with their bodies, with their minds, with everything that they have. I pray that you would give them from your own bounty of resourcefulness. God, the day has been well spent, and we ask that now you will go with us as we leave this moment. Help us to all be better disciples and followers of you. And so we put your name on the people and give the blessing you prescribe. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord cause his face to shine on you and to be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace, each and every one of you. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Man,
I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. Have an
yeah,
amazing
appreciate y'all.
evening. All right.
All
God, thank you so much. Nice to
Y'all
meet
later.
y'all.
nice to meet you too.
Nice to
Bye.
meet y'all.
I just sent you Mateus's because I didn't have a chance to do it while we were on the thing. So